Außerdem gab es die Kirche lange vor der Bibel und die Bibel kommt von der Kirche, da die Kirche entschieden hat, welche Bücher in der Bibel stehen dürfen und welche nicht.
There are, by the time you get to the first century, there are two canons, and we can get debate about whether it's the Masoretic canon or the Septuagint. Okay, I'm setting that particular part of the debate aside at the moment.
I don't think you can.
So
I mean that's another example of the church's authority really in deciding which of those canons was correct.
So is it your position then that no one in the first century had an idea of what the Old Testament canon was?
Well,
if you were in the first century, could you know what the Old Testament canon was?
That's a good question. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, certainly you knew that certain books were in the canon for sure.
Because, I mean, whichever of those two you take as authoritative, whichever of those two traditions, you have to base, I mean, if you're going to make the argument that the only way that you know what books are in the Bible is through the authoritative tradition that gave us that list of books, that would have been the Pharisaical tradition. Not because we know that the Pharisees had the larger canon. And we accept that without also accepting the other things that the Pharisees said were authoritative within their tradition.
Right. Yeah. So, I'm not appealing to the Pharisaical tradition here at all. I don't think. But rather to what the first century church and the later church does.
No, you're not appealing to the Pharisaical tradition. My point, though, is that in the context of the Old Testament, everyone is okay accepting the tradition that is the books of the canon of the Old Testament, without then saying that the major teachings within that tradition were passed down authoritatively in other areas.
I see.
And so what I'm saying is the way that we accept the New Testament is exactly the same way that we accept the Old Testament, is that we do trust that God providentially preserved the books of the canon, but that it doesn't then give us the grounds for saying that there's a magisterial authority that can give us extra biblical traditions outside of that.
I see.
It seems to me to be the way that the Old Testament works.
Right. Yeah, okay. That seems reasonable.